Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. And welcome to our second of two in the You Can Go webinar series. If you joined us yesterday, I hope you learned lots of information, but if you didn't, don't worry, there's still lots to learn today. If you've attended our online events previously, you may have met me before, but for those who have not, or if you just need a reminder, I'm Donna Vellucci and I'm the Careers and Relocation Manager at Brazolot Migration Group. I am originally from the UK, the accent may be a giveaway, and I moved to Canada in 2003. Since that time, I have lived in 4 of Canada's provinces, and I am joining you today from Nova Scotia. Now, thank you for joining us. There's lots of you already with us so early. It is only early in the morning here in Nova Scotia and probably early for some of you as well. Do let us know in the chat where you are joining from. We do always like to know. Okay, so how much do you already know about Canada? Maybe you know a little, maybe you know quite a lot. Well, it is the second largest country in the world. The land is vast and the terrain is varied. We have so much space, but there is a relatively low population. It's around 38.25 million right now, which is why Canada needs migrants. Canada does have 10 provinces and 3 territories, 6 time zones and 2 official languages. And each province and territory has its own unique lifestyle and environment. So they do all have 4 seasons, so the weather can go from quite cold to very warm and even very hot. All right, so why emigrate? Why are you here today? Why did you rise up so early in the morning if it's early for you today? And what raises your interest in emigrating to Canada? And what I'd like you to do is just add the reason why you are thinking about emigrating to Canada in the chat, and we'll have a look at some of those. Now, my reason for emigrating was purely for experience of somewhere new and to build as many life experiences as possible for me and my children. So don't be worried about sharing yours. Do share. Fresh start and a better life. Good. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so we've got some people here also putting where they're from. Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica. I saw someone was joining from London, UK. Let's have a look. Someone's joining, wants to emigrate for family reasons, a sister in BC, better life. So great, better employment, good. Okay, so lots of reasons. All right, so there is no right or wrong reason on why you want to emigrate. It may be for a change of lifestyle, new opportunities, cost of living, education, employment. Some of these you've already mentioned. So there's no right or wrong reason. To emigrate, you will need to apply utilizing one of the immigration programs available. And on the screen, you're going to see the categories that are available. There's the economic class, the temporary classes, business, family, provincial nominations, and humanitarian and refugee class. Now, just to let you know that we do use lots of jargon in this industry and abbreviations. So we've put some examples here on the screen for you. And a couple of the ones that we use frequently are ICCRC, which is Immigration Consultants Canada Regulatory Council, LMIA, Labour Market Impact Assessment. Okay, they're there on the screen for you. But if you'd like a copy of these abbreviations, as well as a copy of these slides, you can request them by emailing info@brazolotgroup.com. Please don't request a copy of the slides on the chat because we can't provide them based on that. You do need to email a copy and they'll be sent out on Monday when our office reopens. All right, so back to the immigration programs. The ones on the screen now are the 5 categories that Brazolot Migration Group can assist with: economic temporary classes, business, family, and provincial nominations. The temporary classes does include work permits and study permits. Okay, shortly we're going to be sharing information on the economic category and talking about the skilled worker class. We're also going to talk about the skilled trades class. And finally, in the economic category, we'll be sharing information on the Canadian experience class. Yesterday, we discussed study permits, which are part of the temporary classes. If you did miss that one, you can watch the event on our YouTube channel. Work permits, always a very popular topic. We'll be going through that one today, so don't worry, you're here today to listen to that one. A lot to cover today. We will also be talking about business programs and opportunities. Okay, so also, sorry, missed this one, family classes and provincial nominations. It was yesterday, so not today, unfortunately, so check that one out on the YouTube channel if you missed that one and want to listen to that one. All right, so moving on, who are we? Who is Brazolot Migration Group? Well, we are experts in immigration with over 80 years of experience. Our company is owned and operated by the one and only Dennis Brazolot. He is one of our licensed consultants, and he'll be joining us shortly from our head office in Montreal. We do also have remote offices in Ontario and Nova Scotia and the UK. We have 3 divisions: administration, which is managed by Mandy; case processing, managed by Helen. Helen was on yesterday, if you were with us yesterday; and the careers and relocation team, which is led by myself. Each division is essential to your immigration journey and fully supported by our team, who you will see here on the screen. I think most of them, all but one, have more than one passport. So we have a real diverse team with lots of different skills and experiences to share. Okay, Amanda is our moderator today at the BNG head office. Thanks for getting up so early, even an hour earlier there in Montreal. So thanks for being with us today. And Mandy will respond to your messages in the chat. So bear with us as she takes care of that. As I said, relocation. Okay, our goal is to guide our clients through every step of the immigration process. We do have an in-house relocation team, as I said, which is led by myself, to support you with leaving your home country and establishing yourself and your family in Canada. We can provide support on matters pertaining to things like healthcare, your driving license, schools, buying or renting a home, along with much more. Also, our careers team. In addition, we do work diligently to assist with finding and securing employment. Some occupations are regulated, so professional trade certification may be required, and we can assist with those processes as required by the regulatory authority. So without a visa, living and working in Canada is just not possible. And so our visa team is responsible for preparing and submitting applications under the guidance of our 2 consultants. So Brazolot Migration Group is your partner in migration. Your immigration strategy and presentation of your application are absolutely crucial. It can have serious implications, so it's essential that you get it right first time. This is really, really important. You don't want to waste time and effort not for your application to be successful. And as your partner in migration, we'll work with you every step of the way, helping you with your documentation, what's required, when it's required, and where to obtain that information from. All right, preparation is key to the preparation of your applications, okay, and critical. And throughout your immigration journey, this will be highlighted several times, and we will mention it probably more than once during this session. So you're probably asking already, where do you start? So all immigration programs have an eligibility criteria which must be met, and knowing what you're eligible for is very important. It's the very first step that you must be prepared to do. We can help you determine your options through our immigration assessment, and this includes you completing and returning our evaluation worksheet, and then we will assess your individual situation. You can obtain the evaluation worksheet by clicking the button when it appears at the top. It will only be there. It's there right now. It says press here. It will only be there for a limited amount of time. So to receive this worksheet to complete, do click the button. Once you have completed the assessment, we will send you a report, and it will include your scores and look something like this on the screen. If the assessment is positive, we will arrange a consultation with you. We are offering today 66% discount on our assessment, which means today it's $39 instead of $117. To receive the discount, you must click the red button, which is still up there. So do click it. It's on a countdown. It comes up for 2 minutes at a time. Okay, the worksheet is paid for and completed online. So online payments can be made by PayPal. You do not need a PayPal account to pay by PayPal. You can use your credit card. You select that option, and then you can use your credit card to make the payment. If you prefer a static version of the form, which means that you print it and fill it out by hand, you can email Jennifer at her office. The email address is on the screen. Unfortunately, if you obtain the static form, no discount is available. So clicking that button is really important during this session. Okay, so upcoming events. Every month we have a busy schedule of events, and today we're talking about the business applications, work permits, as well as skilled worker visas, which is part of our Canada You Can Go series. We also regularly host web expos, which includes lots of information on the immigration programs, as well as information on the country and information from our service providers. They are about 5 hours long, but attendees can choose which sessions to attend. So you don't have to attend for the whole 5 hours. You can review the schedule and see which sessions are of interest to you. The date for the next Web Expo will be available on our website, as that says September the 11th on your screen. That's past, so the next one hasn't been scheduled yet. Check that out for the next one. Our mini Web Expos are a compact version of the full Web Expo, and they last for about 2 hours. And our next mini is on November the 26th, so I do encourage you to join us for that one. All details of our events, whether it's the You Can Go series, mini expos, or full expos, are available on our website, and we update it regularly. So do check back regularly for upcoming events. At the end of every month, we have a private client webinar. It's the last Monday of every month, and it allows us to provide our clients with updates and information that may be shared in a group setting. So we talk about any changes that have happened, what's going on in the labor market, and any pertinent information that we believe need to be shared with our clients. These are really popular with our clients, and many return each month to interact and to keep up to date. So that's something that's been really positive since we started that one. All right, so now I've done all the intro, we're going to get on with our first topic and get into the nitty-gritty of the business class, where Dennis will be hosting this session, and he's joining us now from Montreal.
Good morning, Donna.
Morning.
Early for you, earlier for us.
Yes, early. Yes, nice early morning to start this off.
When you went around the world and saw where people are coming from, I think someone's in from Australia.
Wow.
So that's either really late in the evening or really, really early in the morning. One of the two. Could it be in the middle of the afternoon?
It's somewhere in the future anyway.
There you go. And you only made one mistake.
Okay.
Canada doesn't have 6 time zones.
You always tell me that, and I check that
Canada has 6.5 time zones. Remember, our cousins in Newfoundland go on a half an hour difference. So it's actually 6.5 time zones.
6.5, yeah.
6.5. Okay, so we got Muhammad says it's night here. So, yep, no, great session yesterday. Again, it's going to be today, and lots of people have joined us, but we had an email in yesterday. It was just incredible. Thank you for the webinar. It was informative. I've already done my express entry profile, and I'm sitting on 386 points. I don't need immigration help. I just need a job. He told us a little bit about his background. He's got 2 other programs that he can go straight to permanent residency, but he doesn't need immigration help.
Love those ones.
It was a good one. I can see there's some clients that are here. John is here, and a client who's starting tomorrow, Rose, is here. So welcome, everybody, and let's move on. I get to talk to you about, Donna, we'll see you a little bit later, so thank you for the intro.
Yeah, I'll be back shortly.
I get to talk about the dry and boring stuff, so I'm talking to you about the legal and the visa issues. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. As Donna has mentioned, my name is Dennis Brazolot, and I am a licensed or regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Our licensing just changed in June. So we are now even more strict in terms of what we are doing. I am also a licensed recruiter in the provinces of Canada that we need to be. I am born and raised in Canada, but you can see the two flags there. I'm an Italian Canadian. So I better go on to the legal side. Yes, like Helen, I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. This is your protection. Someone yesterday asked, is this a scam? Look us up. This is the government website. It can't be a scam. Not the farthest from the truth. But back to me. I'm Italian Canadian. I come from a family of 9 children. I'm the second youngest. Our family is the oldest home building firm in Canada. So I was born and raised in new construction all my life. I've been lucky to live in Canada, United States, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. In 1995, I moved over to the UK to join an immigration firm, and I bought their franchise 1 year later in the Netherlands. And I spent 2 great years there and came back, and I was stuck in Manchester. I was living in Manchester for that time period. Thank goodness Helen's not here today. So that's my background there. So yes, I'm well versed in immigration. I've got over 27 years doing this. So my origins are Italian. Because the way my grandparents had immigrated, it makes me an Italian citizen. So I have 2 passports, a Canadian passport and an Italian passport. Excuse me. Here are my grandfather's papers, which next year make these 100 years old. In the top left-hand corner, he came on the 3rd class passage on the SS Julio Cesare, or the Julius Caesar. It was a famous migrant ship from Italy. He came at the age of 22 years old, and the object of coming to Canada was to establish oneself. 100 years later, some of those reasons haven't changed. You can see at number 10, he had $25 in his pocket at the time in 1923, which was the mandatory minimum amount of money you had to have. We still have monetary policies today. And number 27, does he have tuberculosis or any physical defects? No. And there was medical questions 100 years ago. That's my grandfather on my father's side. My grandmother on my mother's side was an American citizen. She came up to Stratford, where Justin Bieber's from, and established there with my grandfather, raised a family, and her papers were just registering with the police. And that's all she had to do for her immigration papers back in 1918. Being an Italian Canadian, having 2 passports, I married Debbie, and Debbie was born in Great Britain, and her family immigrated to New Zealand when she was 2 years old. So she was raised in New Zealand. She has both passports. Well, if this is your first time joining us, here are my boys, Massimiliano and Alessandro, and they have all 4 passports. They are Italian, they are Canadian, they are British, and they are New Zealand citizens that can pretty much live and work anywhere they want for the rest of their lives. So my boys have said, update this, because they're no longer those young, sweet-looking, innocent kids. They are now 22 and 16, and this is us tearing down their old tree fort a year ago. Donna said, 2nd largest country in the world. We span 6.5 time zones. Yes, if I get my pointer here, and if I do this drawing part, this province here, Newfoundland and Labrador, work on a half an hour time difference than the rest of Canada. God bless them. But living in British Columbia is nowhere like living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Living in Toronto is nothing like living in Montreal. So where you want to live is going to be up to you. Unless you're going to need a job, you might start in a different location, become permanent, and move to the location you wanted to go to. So I believe I'm starting right into the first section about business categories. And for those that have been to Canada before, I forgot to tell Donna, I am happy this morning. I have my Tim Hortons, so we're going to be good this morning. No worries there. If you want to start a business in Canada, it has been an absolute fantastic way to make a migrant application into the country. You don't need millions of dollars anymore to do a business program. What business to start? Well, you could be looking at franchises to buy one. You could look at starting a new company, a brand new startup. You could look at existing businesses. You could look at partnerships. Now, Donna talked to you before about being your partner in immigration. When it comes to the business program, it's a little bit more in detail because there's many, many aspects that are different than regular migration. When we come to your partner in business migration, it's your business migration. It's the visa application. It's the business plan preparation service. We don't just take a business plan off the shelf and add your name. We literally write one that's going to be a working model for you, that's going to be able to work for your business application. Market research and business consulting, so you know what's going on in the market that you want to join. And this is part of the team that I actually lead. Fact-finding trips, you're going to need to come over, take a look at the facts, figures, numbers, maybe books if you're buying a business. And the relocation resettlement service is still second to none. The business tax rates in Canada are very, very low. This is one of the reasons why it's conducive to do business in Canada, because it is a fantastic way. Now, with what's going on in the world, The old Confucius saying, when the competition is running, walk. When the competition is walking, run. Well, the competition is walking now. So run, because there's fantastic deals that are going to be available out here. So what kind of money are we talking about? You can see the exchange rates on the screen, because it's not a large amount. Like, I mean, it is a large amount, but it's not the millions of dollars you need to do anymore. What you're looking at there is about 250,000 Canadian dollars. It'll give you the relative perspective in your exchange rate. And the investment or the spend, that 250,000, has to be spent right away in a timely fashion on things like your flights to Canada. If you buy a building, the renovations to a building, the cost of the building doesn't count, but renovations would. Your new company car, immigration consultancy fees, the moving and shipping of your belongings, the lawyer and accounting fees, all your government fees. So all your family flying to Canada is part of your $250,000 spend. So there's very creative ways of how you can actually do this. So into the details. First thing we look at is your net worth. If you look down the left-hand column, how much money do you have when everything is sold? Your house, your cars, your cash, everything, that's your net worth down the left-hand side. To the right of it gives you the type of files you're eligible to do. So if you have no money, you can still do a federal startup visa, an owner-operator labor market impact assessment, or an intercompany transfer. If you have 300,000, you can do Saskatchewan, Quebec, Yukon, Northwest Territories. $500,000 is Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba farming, Yukon, Northwest. 600,000 is British Columbia, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. You need 800,000 net worth to do one of the Ontario entrepreneurs, and 1 to 1.5 million for another Ontario entrepreneur, and 2 million plus for Ontario corporate or Quebec investor. So this is your net worth, not what you spend. Okay, this is your personal net worth. When we look at what you have to spend, these are different programs available here. So again, if you're doing an intercompany transfer, you don't need to spend any money. What's this all about? Well, remember, it's here. You don't have to show any money, and you don't have to spend any money. It's a business visa. You are the director of Shell Limited over in Europe, and you're being transferred to Shell in Canada. This is a business visa. But you don't buy a company, you're not getting into a company, you don't have to spend any money, you have to prove nothing. It's an intercompany transfer. So it's rare we do those, but they do happen. $100,000 spend is a federal startup visa. Now, this visa means you have to have permission from an angel investor, a business incubator, or a venture capitalist, one that's been approved by the Canadian government, and they are going to own about 70% of your new business. It's generally in new technology is what these are all about. You can also do Quebec entrepreneur if you're a fluent French speaker. 150,000 spend for Saskatchewan young farmer, Manitoba, another Manitoba, Saskatchewan farming, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Northwest Territories. $200,000 spend is BC outside of Vancouver, Saskatchewan, federal startup 2. Same as federal startup 1, except you've doubled your money and you have 70% ownership of the company. 250,000 is what we showed the exchange rate on, based on the owner-operator labor market impact assessment. This is a visa. I just realized my head's cut off. This visa will allow you to do your business anywhere in Canada that you wish to do, with the exception of Quebec. Manitoba, New Brunswick, 300,000 spend for Saskatchewan, Yukon, Saskatchewan, Manitoba farming, or Northwest Territories. Spending 400 to $500,000 for BC in Vancouver, Alberta, Ontario entrepreneur. $1 to $10 million for Ontario corporate, Quebec investor, or Ontario entrepreneur. So this is the one we focus on with a lot of clients because it's the middle ground, but it gives you the flexibility to do this anywhere you want. Why? All of these programs, except the first ones, federal startup, owner operator, intercompany, all of these programs are provincial nomination applications, and they can take 3 to 5 years to get your permanent residency if you are selected by that province. With the owner operator, the ball's in your court. You're dictating how fast things work. And once we do your application, you get 200 extra express entry points, and you see your permanent residency within 6 to 9 months. So when our business clients enter Canada January 1st, they're permanent by the end of the year. Once they're permanent, they can sell the business if they want. And the business plan was based on 5 years. So you only have to prove the first year of business operating. Sorry, very early, got to get this coffee in. So preparation is key and critical. There's a lot of aspects. It's your immigration file. It's got to be perfected. We're not going to go through all of this unless you've got a perfect file. Your new business. Is licensing mandatory? Can you buy a pharmacy in Canada if you're not a pharmacist? Can you buy a daycare if you're not a daycare worker? What's your experience? What's your background? You don't have to have been self-employed or a business person where you're from. It helps. You can be an owner. You could be a manager. You could be an executive. You could be a supervisor. You could be a profession, meaning if you were an accountant or a nurse, a licensed occupation, you're still eligible to do a business program in Canada. What you're doing is you're creating your own work permit in essence. You have to do what's called a labor market impact assessment, LMIA. This is showing that the job that you're offering to yourself is going to be positive or neutral to the local labor market. You've got to advertise your own job as well. So you get to put in the newspaper, looking for a chief executive officer of my own new business, paying whatever the amount is, and you've got to see people who apply for it and who will actually take it. There's a lot of criteria that we need to go through, but you're literally going to show that no one's actually going to take your job. So I'm going to give you just one case study this morning since I was a little bit late getting started, and we're going to use Bob from the United Kingdom. Bob came in, he met us. He was a restaurant manager, so he never owned a business, but he had some assets behind him. And we found a diner in Canada that mom and dad had started back in the 50s. The children wanted nothing to do with it. They had moved on in life. And mom and dad wanted to release their investment and sell it. So Bob was able to buy 51%. You need to have controlling interest in a business. And he paid £169,000 for 51%. We got his work permit in 2.5 weeks. His scores when he met us were 320 points in express entry. Because we did the business visa, he got 200 points and he went to 520 and he was selected immediately. So he had his permanent residency within a year. And a year later, he bought the other 49% from the family because he wanted them to be there to show them the suppliers, the customers, the local customs things that were going on. And it worked out quite well for Bob. His application went smooth for him, and it's exactly what he wanted to do. And it was a great way for him to come in. And now he's got his business in Canada. That's just one example. And we've got lots of other ones too that will be on the slides for those who request it a little bit later. Preparation, as we have mentioned, is key and critical. You've got to get this right the first time. You can't play around with a business application. You've got to know what you're doing from the beginning. I'm trying to get the supplement up here. So I've just got to type that in. Sorry, everybody. And we become your partner when it comes to these parts: your visa application, the business migration, your preparation service for the business plan, your market research, your fact find trip is going to be very, very important. And the relocation and resettlement service are second to none. So what I'm showing up on the bar, you need to do the business supplement. It's in addition to the full evaluation. So if you're interested in a business program, click the button at the top. That one you do need to add to the business file because this is the extra questions that we don't have. And for the people who are clicking on the button, you can also send us an email and we're happy to post you a copy of this booklet, Doing Business in Canada. This is a book that we sponsored a couple years ago. It's invaluable for those who are thinking about a business application. Send us an email saying you'd like a copy of that. We need to have your full postal address. It's not something we can email. It's an actual booklet. We'll send it out. And for the business supplement, that's going to be disappearing in about 30 seconds. So if you're interested, click that button at the top because it's going to be gone. So this is what we're all about, is helping people, different aspects. And this is the business program in a nutshell. Obviously, we're going to go into a lot more detail when we start talking about a business application. So without further ado, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go into jobs in Canada, very popular, and how a lot of people are coming into Canada right now. We do have our record unemployment since 1972, and Canada has just announced we're going to be accepting 500,000, 500,000 new migrants per year. The economy is still good. We had positive job growth, we had positive job growth in October. We've had positive growth in Canada. Last stat came out in September. We are doing very well up here. Okay, plain and simple. So I'm going to welcome my colleague back, Donna, who is I'm probably catching her unawares. She's probably like, he talked too fast. I was expecting to be, oh, there she is.
You did talk too fast. I did take the time to check out because, I hate being wrong. You've got your Tims, good.
I've got my Tims. I'm a happy chappy this morning.
So, I hate being wrong. And I like nothing better than proving you right, because you have pulled me up on the time zones before, so I did want to check it out. The 6 time zones does include Newfoundland. and Labradors change. So
I sit corrected.
I can read them off to you if I want to bore you all, but basically I am right.
Corrected. I embarrassed you.
I thought I was going crazy, but anyway, just a little bit of banter between us. So
you got me.
Like to catch you out even early in the morning. Okay, so we're going on to jobs now. So I guess it's me again. So hello, if you've just woke up, just joined us, I'm back. And if you missed the beginning, I'm Donna Vellucci and I'm the Careers and Relocation Manager at BMG. And I've been working with job seekers and Canadian employers for the last 17 years. Okay, I guess I better need to move on my slides as well. Okay, so I moved to Canada in 2003, which I mentioned earlier. My accent, yes, a giveaway. I'm from the UK. And since I moved to Canada, I've lived in 4 different provinces. So I've lived in Manitoba, which is in the central part of Canada, Quebec, Ontario, and now I live in Nova Scotia. So I've got lots of experience of living in different places throughout the country, what the lifestyle's like, etc. Okay, I did mention earlier as well that preparation is essential, and it is essential for both your immigration file and your employment. So do take the time to get yourself ready and be prepared. All right, so this morning we're going to share with you some key job searching steps that will ensure you're ready to begin your employment search. So how you get ready and the action that you take is really, really important. Okay, so what should you do to prepare? First of all, you need to do some research and put together an employment file. Okay, so basically I'm on the wrong slide. Did I skip a slide? Okay, so maybe not. We might have missed that slide out, this one. So we'll talk about job boards. Okay, so you do need to prepare, put together your employment file. You need to identify the best online job boards. So that's really important. You will see some of them here on the screen. You'll recognize some of them. Things like Monster, Workopolis, Indeed. They're all international job boards used around the world. But there are also some job boards that are very specific to Canada. You may not be familiar with them. So like I said, it's important to identify a list of national, local, and industry-specific job boards. Okay, so depending on what you do, if you work in IT, for example, there are some industry-specific job boards that you should be looking up. Once you've identified the best job boards for your search, you need to create accounts and set up profiles. If this is an option, it's not available on all of them, but most of them you can do that because it will save you some time in the long run. It is a bit of a job to do in the beginning when you've got to go through and add all of your information, but then it makes it easier to apply for those jobs when you see them posted. There are apps available for just about everything now. So I'm sure that you're using apps daily. So for your job search, it's no different, and it can help you organize your search and can save you some valuable time. Some of the apps do allow you to create a CV or a resume and will match you with open jobs. And then you can apply directly from the app. So the Canada's Job Bank, our national job board, does have an app. And if you've not downloaded that one, I do recommend that you do so. Okay, so while it is really tempting to try to apply for every position posted, just, you think that the more positions you apply for, the better chance you have of success, it is important to match your skill set, okay? If take a look at the history, what you've been doing over the last 5 years. So look at the jobs that you've done in the last 5 years and the skills that you've obtained, the duties you've been performing, and note down some keywords, those duties, the job titles that you can use when conducting your job search, because sometimes by searching from a different word can help you find a match. With Canada being such a large country, second in the world, as I mentioned before, it is a good idea to focus your search on a specific area or region of the country. Do make sure that you choose a region that has a demand for your skill set before you begin applying for positions. Now, if you're an administrator or a nurse, then those types of positions are going to be in demand across the country. But if you're in the marine industry, then you might want to narrow that down to the coastal regions. Okay, not all companies list their job adverts on the job boards, on online job boards. So if you limit your search to applying for positions on the job boards, you may miss out on an opportunity. So it is also a good idea to research companies within your industry. So if you're in the aerospace industry, for example, find out who the big boys are in the industry to start contacting them. Create a list and then do make contact with them. You can submit a speculative application if they do not have a position posted on their website. Many companies will only post on their own website, especially if they're a corporate company. So do check out the individual websites once you know which companies are of interest to you. So building a professional brand and network is particularly important for professional occupations, but we do recommend it for all job seekers. You should at the very least create a profile on LinkedIn, but use Facebook and other networking sites if possible. When doing this, make sure that your CV or your resume matches the profile that you've created on LinkedIn or the other networking site. You want to make sure that you do not have any conflict information on your printed CV or your emailed copy of your CV compared to that of your online profile on LinkedIn or Facebook, etc. If you have any conflict in information, then it can raise unnecessary questions or result in a lack of interest. So make sure that you get your dates right for employment and what you've been doing, etc. If you do already have social media accounts, which I'm sure most of you do, review them and tidy them up before you start searching for positions. So Facebook is always a good example. If you've used Facebook for personal use, then there may be lots of information on there that you wouldn't want to share with a potential employer. So, and they do scan your social media. So tidy it up first of all. Do make sure that it looks as you'd want an employer to view it. So don't get rid of it completely, because that can also raise questions. So don't think I'll just delete them, just tidy them up, okay? So once you created those profiles, don't stop there. Start connecting with people via those platforms. And when I mean people, I mean companies, professional associations, and sometimes people you may know who could be resourceful. Okay, so make a match. As I mentioned before, you need to focus your job search. So before you rush in and apply for every position, take some time to match the requirements for the position with your skill set. If you do not match the requirements, consider whether it's worth your time applying. Don't waste your time and the employer's time with reviewing it if you don't match the position. I usually recommend if you meet 80% of the listed requirements, so the education, the experience, the skills that are noted in the job posting, it's worth submitting an application. It's hard for employers to find applicants that are going to be 100% ticking off every one of those requirements. So that's why I say 80%. When making your applications, submit your job applications using the method noted in the job posting. So if it says on the posting, apply online or by email, make sure that you follow those instructions, okay, to be considered further. If it does provide instructions that says that you need to note the requisition, job number, or the job title clearly in the subject line in your email, make sure that you follow the instructions. And don't submit an application without your cover letter and CV unless the online process does not allow you to upload them. There are some apps that only allow you to fill in the questions. So if it doesn't allow you to, then you won't be able to do it. But otherwise, do include and clearly state all the information there. It is important to create a CV that is in line with the employer expectations. This is invaluable because CVs or resumes, as you may know them, around the world can look very different. The information that is provided on a CV can be very different, and what's expected from a Canadian employer should be considered when you create your Canadian CV. Okay, there's lots of information that you should not include, and some good formatting tips that you should follow when preparing your CV. When you do apply, keep notes of the dates and details of the submission, where you submitted a spreadsheet or a Word document with all the information, And if possible, do follow up with the company. But that is becoming more and more impossible with companies, especially larger organizations. So when you make your application, sorry, I was just checking the slides here, and if I've missed one out, you're going to be really, really fortunate if the first round of applications result in success. So again, you do need to keep submitting those applications. Don't sit around waiting for responses, because that could be a long wait. Sometimes it takes employers many, many weeks to go through the applications that they receive. They often receive them from around the world. So do continue your applications. I did check the job bank, which is the national job bank for Canada, on Thursday or Friday, and there were over 115,000 jobs just on that one job board. So while this figure's not a true representation of how many jobs are really out there in Canada, because it is suggested that they are about 10 times this amount. So there are lots of jobs, and Canada just doesn't have the labor force. So definitely a shortage of jobs here, and definitely a shortage of workers. So if you're serious about Canada and you've got some good skill sets to offer, whatever they are, then Canada may be the place for you. So Dennis, you're back.
Yes. And yesterday I realized I had the other BMG shirt on yesterday, and you couldn't see my poppy. So I've got my hat on so you can definitely see my poppy. And also the hat takes the shine off my head. But I shouldn't wear a hat during the webinar, should I? Now, there's somebody there in Perth, Scotland, that's already had 2 Timmys this morning. It's just, Timmys is everywhere now. It's just fantastic.
It's just not Canadian. It's just not Canadian anymore. It's everywhere.
Okay, yeah. But slowly but surely, we just might take over the world.
Well, Timmys, yeah.
By Timmys.
Maybe.
By Timmys, yes. Okay, thanks, Anna. You'll be back for question and answer after this. So the second part of the jobs in Canada is the actual work permit, because they do go hand in hand. You have to understand how this works, since this is the legal side. If you're just joining us, which a lot of people have in the last 20 minutes, my name is Dennis Brazolot. I'm the owner of the company, and I was born and raised in Canada, but I'm an Italian Canadian. I have both passports. I am a licensed recruiter in the provinces that we need to be. But more importantly, I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, along with my colleague, Helen, who works out of our Manchester office in the United Kingdom. So the legal side of the work permit. Again, preparation is key and critical. Donna talked to you about your employment file. Now I'm going to talk to you about the immigration file and the way our clients become successful. When it comes to the work permit, again, you need an LMIA, okay, a labor market impact assessment. You need to be qualified to pursue the occupation, and you must be able to obtain a job that's paying the prevailing wage rate your spouse or partner works. So let's break these down. The labor market impact assessment is an official application made with the labor board that the employer does, not you. They've got to prove to the government that the job offer being offered to you is positive or neutral to the local labor market, not too difficult in today's time since we're screaming for workers, and the job has been advertised for competition. They can't just offer, and they might have to advertise locally, provincially, they might even have to advertise nationally, depending on the type of occupation. There's other criteria the employer has to go through about their background. Okay, so we've got to find out that the employer is never bankrupt before. You can't ask the employer this. It's going to be a little difficult with, hi, I'd like a job. Have you ever been bankrupt? But it's something tactful that we'll do with an employer if they're looking to hire someone. If you're looking at a larger company than Coca-Cola or a bank, I mean, they don't have to worry about questions like this. But the next part is the work permit. Are you qualified to pursue the occupation? So do you have the relevant experience? You have just graduated in your country from a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and you're 24 years old, and you have 0 work experience. The employer is not going to be eligible to offer you a job with a restricted work permit, because they have to pay you the prevailing wage rate. Okay, we'll talk to you about that. So you're not worth the wage yet. You need a couple of years behind you. Some occupations you need 3 years, some you need 5, but you've got to make it easy for the employer to hire you. So when we're working with our clients, they are going to prepare their file over the next 2, 3, 4 months to have it immigration ready. So when Donna's helped you with your interviews and you've got that stage and you're at an interview, your file's done. If the employer wants to say yes, there's no impediment on your end. Your English test is done. Your credentials have been evaluated. Maybe you've started your licensing in Canada. You've made it very easy for the employer. That's what you've got to do And that's how you're going to be more successful than everybody else around the world saying, give me a job, give me a job. The prevailing wage rate is important. Okay, now this is back to the employer. Every job in Canada has a median wage across the country, but then it's broken down provincially, and then it's broken down into municipality. So it changes all the time, and you have to have your research done. It's got to be perfected. So I've used a welder here. I've used a welder. So in Canada, the median wage for a welder with a number of years of experience is $25.50. In Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, it's $21.75. The high is $41.10. The high in Prince Edward Island is in Charlottetown is $28. But in Wood Buffalo, Alberta, that job is paying $40 an hour, with the high being $51. So we'll have some clients, oh, I want the Wood Buffalo job. Well, I'm going to tell you that the standard of living is going to be similar to the wage. So in Charlottetown, the cost of housing and living is going to be a lot lower than it's going to be in Wood Buffalo, Alberta. Hence the reason for the wage. But where you want to go is going to be up to you. So you've got to find out what they're paying. You can't take the job on the low end of scale. Government won't allow the work permit to happen. But you only get the low end if you're a brand new graduate or a brand new apprentice. So you can't get the work permit just yet. You might have to wait a bit and get some more experience behind you. But when you look for jobs, only 4 out of every 15 are going to qualify, because the median wage, when you find the advertisements, only pay about 20%. Okay. And that's right across the board. So 27% of all jobs are going to be eligible for immigration purposes. That's why a lot of research is required. Preparation is key and critical. You've got to know what you're doing step by step. Okay. So when it comes to your spouse or your partner, if you're single, we have no worries. But if it's your spouse or partner, they get an open work permit with very few restrictions. If you're coming from Europe, there's no medical required. So there's going to be some restrictions on the work permit. You can't work with children, can't work in hospitality, can't work in healthcare, and you can't work in the sex trade unless you have a medical examination. For our clients coming from Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, or countries that require a visa, India, you have no restrictions because you had to do the medical up front. Your children up to end of high school go to school free of charge, and some provinces will allow your children to go on to college or university at domestic rates, some when you're on a restricted work permit. You get your free medical coverage in Canada, okay, with your work permit. So you're treated normal. Your only difference is you're on a work permit. It's for a limited time only, okay? You have a work permit for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, and that's it. Unless you become a permanent resident, you'd have to leave. So we want to make sure you've got your plan in place so you know what you're doing. Remember, when you're coming on a work permit, it's for a fixed term, 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. It's visa specific to the employer. You have a work permit with Joe's Plumbing. You are allowed to work for Joe's Plumbing. You see the Bob's Plumbing is offering a little bit more money. You just can't go work for Bob. Your work permit is for Joe. It's sponsored by the employer. We get a lot of people saying we're looking for an employer to sponsor us. They're not sponsoring you. They're sponsoring the job. That's all they're doing. Remember, it doesn't automatically lead to permanent residence. You have to make your permanent application. You need to know what is the best route for you to obtain your permanent residency in the shortest amount of time. So let's have a little bit of fun, everybody. I want everybody who's watching right now to focus on just one card. Take one of the 6, burn it in your memory, okay? Because when Donna talked about the different jobs that are there, you've got your card picked, good. Because the focus you just had is on the job openings that are in Canada. And we want you to have focus. We don't want you to be like this with horse blinders. We want you to be prepared right across the country, because you've got to understand your first location is going to probably happen, but you've got to be prepared for a second location, because that job you focused on, it's gone. Okay. It doesn't exist. Hopefully you like that little trick there. Hopefully you follow what I was doing. But that's what it's all about, is we've got to make sure that you're going to be completely focused right around all of the aspects around the country. Now, I'm going to go into Express Entry. It's going to be the crux of everything. We're going to have a short video, but before I take off, everybody who's watching, remember, now we're going to come back and talk about Express Entry, how it all ties together. We have our question and answer coming up. So put your questions in the chat room, because we will be going through the Q&A. Dawn and I will go through this. This is what a lot of people love, is we're going to go right into the details there. And we're going to give some anecdotes and what you have to do. So don't disappear. We're going to be a couple of minutes on this, and then we're going to be right back with Express Entry, and then followed by the question and answer to answer all. So get the questions written in there. This video I'm going to show you is about the stereotypes of Canada. It's fun. Enjoy it. And we'll see you guys just in a very short couple of minutes.
Timmy's and hockey, syrup and bacon, Molson and Mounties at your can stations, throwing on some cheese and gravy on top of our fries. That's a poutine. And we wear our plaid sweaters when we walk amongst the northern lights. Rockies and prairies, oceans and lakes, other than winter, all the seasons are great. Brushing off the snow a little longer than we like. But you won't hear us complaining, 'cause that just wouldn't be polite. No, man. 'Cause up here in Canada, the air's clear, the weather's adequate, we all cheer. We're pretty passionate, and everybody has a pet polar bear and a moose. Yeah, up here in Canada. Celsius kilometers, prime ministers and provinces. We maybe say it different, but we always keep our promises. We said we'd win the gold back in 2010, and we did. But because we're so nice, we'll let you win every now and again. But not too much. 'Cause up here in Canada, we like beards. We think they're fabulous. We don't fear if people laugh at us for wearing 6 pairs of long underwear. Yeah, up here in Canada. Basketball, telephones, wonder balls and hockey, snowmobiles, ketchup chips and even walkie-talkies, peanut butter, garbage bags, the mighty foghorn. Just a few things that you can thank us for. Shatner, Carey, Myers, Gosling, Reynolds and Reeves, Candy Short, Michael J and all of Schitt's Creek, Celine, Shania, Adams, Bieber, Bublé and Drake. We're sorry about Nickelback, yeah, that was a mistake. We're sorry. We're sorry. Yeah, we're sorry, eh? We're so sorry. 'Cause up here in Canada, we like beer and our cannabis. And each year, we all get taxed a bunch, but everybody gets free health care. And a goose. Yeah, up here in Canada.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. Stereotypes of Canada, different inventions that we've had, and some famous Canadians. So let's tie all the programs together and let's talk about express entry. For those of you wanting to come to Canada, there's going to be multiple paths for you to come. This webinar that we do provides you with an idea of how you can make it, but you've got to understand there's thousands of visas available to come forward, but the majority of people are coming through the economic categories. So we're going to talk about skilled trade. You are a plumber, a bricklayer, a carpenter, a plasterer, a drywaller. The qualifying criteria to come under a skilled trade program is you must plan on living outside the province of Quebec. You must meet the required levels of English or French. You have to take a French or English test. And the levels don't have to be high in a skilled trade program. You have to have at least 2 years of full-time experience in the previous 5 years before you apply. You meet all the job requirements as set out in the NOC, the NOC, the National Occupation Classification. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And the final part is an either or. You either have an offer of employment in Canada with an LMIA, or you've got the certificate of qualification, meaning, let's use United Kingdom. If I'm an electrician in United Kingdom, my license is called 18th edition. So I need to have that. That's meeting the job requirements. And I either have a job offer as an electrician in Canada, or I come to one of the Canadian provinces and write the 18th equivalency test. So it's not called 18th edition here, but a similar electrical examination. So that's what I need to qualify as a federal skill trade. There's no points, there's no age, no education. This is exactly what you need to have. 2 years of experience, decent English, and either an offer of employment or you've got the trade examination previously done. Canadian experience class gets even simpler. Okay, the qualifying criteria is quite simple. You need 1 year of paid skilled experience in Canada within the last 3 years. So not a bartender, okay, not a cleaner or a hostess. You need a nuclear engineer, a banker, a mechanical engineer, a carpenter, a secretary. You need a skilled year in Canada in order to qualify under skilled trade. Now, I was going to say, I thought we were missing something here. My slides are backwards. So the economic category, skilled trade, Canadian experience class, and skilled workers. Express entry is only a management tool. It is not a visa program. It only manages the intake of federal skill workers, federal skill trades, Canadian experience class, and provincial and territorial nominations we talked about yesterday. The bulk of you are going to qualify through skilled worker. I thought these slides weren't here. I was having a wee bit of a panic attack. I thought Donna was playing some games with me and deleted some slides. So under the economic category, skilled worker, okay, this is still covers carpenters, still covers people with Canadian experience class in Canada. It's just a different way of coming in. The qualifying criteria that you have to obtain points on are these 6: age, qualification, your work experience, your language capabilities, if you have arranged employment in Canada, and finally, adaptability. So the first one is age. Canada is the only country that does not have an age cutoff. If you get 0 points in this category, you can still come forward if you get enough points. So 18 to 35 years old will give you the maximum points, and below 18 and above 35, your points will start to drop. Okay, but it's no cutoff in Canada coming with age. Your qualification, you need to have your high school or secondary school completed. That's your minimum qualification under the federal skilled worker program. Okay, you get higher points the more education you do obtain. So if you have a 1-year certificate, a 2-year diploma, a 3-year degree, a postgraduate certificate, a master's degree, and finally the highest you can obtain is a PhD for maximum points. Your work experience, there's a red word in the middle of that box and it says mandatory. You need to have 1 year paid work experience in the previous 10 years to a maximum of 6 for your application. So it needs to be 1 year full-time or full-time equivalent, meaning you could be 2 years part-time as a secretary, that counts. You could be 3 years casual as a plumber, that would count. But you have to show that you've got at least 1 year of paid skilled experience in the previous 10 years. So if you have just graduated, back to that engineer, you've just graduated from university and you have no experience yet, you can't qualify under here. But, however, whatever word you want me to use, let's say I am 28 years old and I've just graduated with a 2-year diploma in hospitality, but I've got 6 years experience prior to this as a secretary. This counts. They don't have to correlate, okay? Your qualification points and your work experience points are completely separate factors. It can be added together. Your work experience, you've got to prove it. Letters of reference, contracts of employment. It's not just your say-so. So here's one of the big changes that's happening in 9 days. When it comes to your work experience, you have to match your occupation perfectly to the NOC. And this is the NOC grid that you can see. 1 to 9 across the top, 0, A, B, C, D down the left-hand column. I forgot I got a pointer. So there's your numbers and there's your letters. So in here is over 45,000 different jobs. Now, I know you can't read it on the screen, but that's why you can ask for a copy of the slides. You need to be in the first 3 bands of this list in order to come to Canada. So what we've got is practical nurses, early childhood educators, Everyone in the top line is management occupations. But you see C and D, these people on this line here are not eligible through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. So you'll see professional truck drivers here. They don't qualify through express entry, through skilled worker. They can qualify through different programs, and that's what your assessment is going to be all about, because that's just one occupation example. Anybody on skill level D, unfortunately, won't be able to make an application for Canada. There's no programs out there. And those people on skill level D means there's no education requirement whatsoever. Skill level 0 is management. You're paid to be in charge of human capital. Skill level A requires you have probably a university degree to do this job. Skill level B, you need at least a 1-year certificate or diploma or more, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to do those jobs. Skill level C occupations can be taught on the job, can be taught in 1 day, can be taught in 2 weeks, can be taught in 2 years, but it's on the job training. There's no formal credential you need to do. You've got to understand this, because this flows into the next one. In 9 days, we now change to a new NOC structure called the tier categories. And this is now going down different paths, similar, but you've got to have this perfected, because when you list your code, the visa officer has no obligation to change your code. They can understand exactly what you are, but if you list the wrong number down, your application will be rejected. Okay, they have no obligation to change it whatsoever. So this is going to be critical. Your next one is language. No matter what program you're looking to come to Canada, you're going to need an English test or a French test or both tests if you have an ability in both. Plain and simple. Only if you're going to marry a Canadian or in a relationship with a Canadian citizen through family categories, it's the only category you don't need an English or French test. Everything we've talked about, work permits, PNPs, federal skilled trade, Canadian experience, all categories, you need a language test. So most people are doing the IELTS general, not the academic. You can also do CILPIP. They're popping up in different locations across the world. They're predominantly been in Canada, but I think they're now in India. I think there's a center in London and some in the Philippines, and there's more tests coming out. If you have an ability in French, do it, because that gives you a lot more opportunities for different programs. And these tests must be done. It's not a pass or fail. It's a level of your ability in that language. Arranged employment. If you are in Canada already on a work permit, a restricted one, a skill one, then you get arranged employment points. If you're not in Canada and you're above 45 years old, you're probably going to need a job offer, arranged employment. Now, like the LMIA we talked about before, it's very similar, except the employer doesn't have to pay $1,000, but the employer has to keep the job open until you are successful with your application. The job still needs to be vetted that it's positive or neutral to the local labor market, but the wage must be conducive to what a Canadian citizen would expect to earn, not the prevailing wage rate. Once you have that, you receive additional points. Your final part is the adaptability. And if you have that job offer, you get extra points. If you've studied in Canada for 2 years or more without graduating, it's extra points. So AEO is arranged employment offer. If you have 1 year full-time experience in Canada on a skilled job, extra points. If your spouse or partner can speak English or French and they do one English or French test, you get extra points. And the middle one is if you have a close family relation in Canada. So sponsorship is very limited, but you will receive additional points if you have a mother, father, brother, sister, niece, nephew, grandmother, grandfather, son or daughter, niece or nephew. So first cousins don't count, second cousins don't count. You need to have a close family member, either you or your partner. So if your partner has a brother in Canada, that's a brother points for you on your application. Put your cultural differences aside. Do not list your auntie in Toronto. If it's not your father's sister or your mother's sister, it's not your blood aunt. Canada will not accept it. Half aunts, half sisters, half uncles, these count, okay, because there's a blood tie, but you may have to prove it. And if you have someone in Canada, but you were never listed on the birth certificate, you can do a DNA test. This is also possible. So now you've qualified either provincial nomination. We talked about that yesterday. You got a certificate. You've qualified under federal skilled trade, 2 years in the last 5. You've qualified under Canadian experience class. You've had 1 year of paid skilled experience in the previous 3 years, or you've got enough points to go through federal skilled worker. Now we all go into express entry. An express entry, I put the Olympic symbols there because to me, it's like the Olympic Games. At the Olympic Games every 4 years, the top athletes from all over the world gather in competition, and they've gone through their trials and their heats and their qualifying in their home countries just to be the best of the best to come to the Olympics. Now they still do trials and heats to get to their finals, and every final has 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze medals. That's what you're looking for, is a medal. This is your permanent visa. So it's a different set of points based out of 1,200, whether you're a single person or whether you're a couple. So you've got to understand that. You need to qualify first under federal skilled worker, 67 points or more, federal skilled trade, 2 years in the past 5, or Canadian experience class, 1 year in the previous 3, or you need a PMP certificate. Fortunately, like the Olympics, or unlike the Olympics, that's every 4 years. Our Olympics are every 2 weeks. So it's selection, okay? Every 2 weeks, Canada comes out and they issue a set of points that you need to have as a minimum or above. And currently the points are 496 points. Remember, with a business profile, you get 200 points. It's, 40% of your points are right there. If you get a PMP certificate, it's worth 600 points. It's an automatic selection. You're going to be above the 496 no matter what. A business work permit will give you 200 points. Some do 50. And processing is currently 7 to 10 months. So once you receive your once you've received your invitation to apply, then 7 to 10 months later, you should be receiving your permanent residency in your passport. This is how the express entry works, and it ties them all together. You are competing with everybody around the world in multiple categories, and you have no idea how they're scoring, okay? Remember, it's going to be important. You need to take your English test, the IELTS, or the CILPIP, or the TEF test in French. You need to have your education credential assessment done. You need to prove you've got your education equivalent in Canada. Same thing when we do with our work permits. When you're going forward to an employer, this person asks for a job and this person asks for a job. Well, this is our client. They've already got their English test done and their ECA. There's nothing hidden with our client. This unknown person, if the employer wants to play with it, that's up to them. But our clients are always successful. So that is your express entry profile and how it works. I think Donna will be coming back to join me. Canada, it's completely open what you want to do. Okay, there's lots of opportunities and lots of different visa programs available coast to coast. We do have 3 divisions in the company: our employment and relocation division run by Donna, our visa specialist, the visa team run by Helen. We're second to none out there. So this is what's important: is your relocation, your employment, and your migration plan, to know how you're going to go forward. We are your partner in your visa application. Okay, we're working with you. We're not working against you. We're working for you. But we're with you the whole step of the way. Your fact-find trip, some people are going to come out because they're going to have an interview. Some are coming out for business opportunities, or maybe somebody just wants to have a look-see. But the relocation resettlement service, second to none. Now, Donna, I need to get the assessment link up one last time. So if you want to part some words that I forgot, perhaps.
That you forgot? I think you've covered just about everything. Hopefully people were taking notes or are going to rewatch this, because lots to learn today, and I'm sure it was the same yesterday, with lots of information. But you don't need to remember everything, because we guide you through each step of the process to ensure that you are ready. So important things, if you are looking for jobs in Canada, while we wait for Bo to do that, then do make sure that you are ready for your search, and do be committed, because there are a few people that get jobs, instantly, first time, without even making applications, through referrals, etc. But for most people, it does take some time and some commitment. Even though Canada has lots of jobs, you do have to be ready for that. So it's back up there, so you can press. If you have not pressed it yet, you can get your evaluation worksheet to ensure you get that discount. Okay, I think they need to do it during this session to get that discount.
This is the evaluation, okay? And the one you've got there on the screen is up for the last time. It is up for the last time, so please don't come back and say, put the link back up, because it won't happen. It's only there for another 60 seconds. Page 1, it's your details, your address, and about your kids. Page 2, okay, is about your education, okay? And then the middle section is about your employment opportunities. And at the bottom, it's going to have your language capabilities, what you feel you have now. Page 3 talks about your finances. Do not leave this blank, people. This is between you and us. It doesn't go to anybody else, because money has a different aspect with different programs. Okay, studying, business opportunities. If you're coming as a permanent resident, you're going to have to show money in your background. The middle part is about your family in Canada, or if you have family abroad, your interest below. And page 4 is all about your spouse or partner. If you are single, you don't need to fill in this page. If you are a spouse or partner, you are filling the page, but no matter what, everybody needs to electronically sign and date their forms. Do not fill in this credit card section or you will be charged full price. Once you do the link at the top, it's going to bring you to the discount, which expires tonight. So tomorrow morning, if you go to the website, it's not at $39 anymore, 25 quid or $29 US. So it is an excellent opportunity for you guys to go through this, to have an evaluation done, because we're evaluating against all programs. Now, what's important is when people leave blanks, you can get a false positive from us. You can get a false negative from us. We don't make assumptions. Okay, the link is gone, everybody. We don't make assumptions on your file. So if you've listed no money and everything's perfect, we're just going to send a report to say everything was perfect, but unfortunately you didn't list any assets, and this was a criteria for the program you want to do. Your application has been unsuccessful. And then we'll get people coming back saying, oh, I didn't understand. I didn't tell you this, but so fill it in the first time. It's going to save your hassles. If you wanted the business supplement or a study supplement, those are going to be available through those links later. So when you've pressed that button, or when you go to the link later, you're going to get to this page, and it's going to show the evaluation available in English or the evaluation available in French. You have your choice of either or. So you add to basket. You click that one there. From that point, you can pick the business supplement and the study supplement again if you want to add those in. There's no charges to those. And then you're going to get to your next page where it's going to start talking about what you're doing. And here, you make sure you pick one. Okay, you want to buy one evaluation. Husband, wife, one form. Common law couple, one form. Single person, one form. You don't need to be doing 2 forms. From that point, it's going to put apply coupon. There is no coupon. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. We've lowered it right now for everybody. From that point, it's going to bring you to this point here, and it has additional information. Everybody has received an email from our company. Check your spam or junk if you don't have it. And the top right-hand corner will be the date, and underneath it will say BMG reference number. Put your reference number in this box here because it's going to make us attach them a little bit easier for you. From there, you go to the final stages, and as Donna mentioned earlier, you do not need a PayPal account. You fill it in, and you're going to pay by Visa credit, debit, MasterCard credit or debit, or Amex, and it will take you through to the final stages, and it will process through right away. So the full price is $117. We're offering a 66% discount. It's $39 up until midnight tonight. From that point, it goes back to regular charges. And this will be your full evaluation on all programs we've talked about yesterday and today. It will also include a private consultation with myself or Helen via Skype, via face-to-face, depending on where you live. Payments are done through PayPal, and as Donna mentioned, if you want the static form, you can email Jennifer. She'll get it tomorrow, but it won't be at the discount. Okay, it will be at the full price. So yesterday was an overview of all programs. We touched upon the different aspects for immigration to Canada. We talked about the family categories, the provincial nominations, and the study permits. Today, we talked about business opportunities, how to get a job, how to get the work permits, and tying all the programs together. People have been asking, can we send a link to the webinar? No, it's on YouTube, our YouTube channel. So you can watch yesterday's, you can rewatch today's, no problem there. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Very important there. We'd like to see that. As Donna mentioned at the beginning, we do hold full web expos, which are 5 hours, of which we send the agenda in advance so you know the timings. And in 3 weeks, we have our final mini web expo of the season, and that's a condensed version of the full web expo. For our clients, on the last Monday of every month, we have a private client webinar, providing them with the tips and tricks and everything that's going on. And now we're getting to what a lot of people have, is their favorite section is our question and answer. So get your questions typed in the chat room. Amanda is, now, we've had people upset in the past. Focus, everybody, listen. Because if you are asked a similar question to somebody else, we might not say your question. So it's going to be very similar. So we're not going to repeat the same answer over and over again. So let's go to the Q&A.
Okay, also we can't answer, we don't want lots of questions like I'm a welder, can you get me a job? You know, specific questions about specific jobs. Okay, Canada does need a whole wide range of workers, right from people working sales assistants in shops, restaurants, etc., right up to doctors, nurses, lawyers, etc. So don't expect us to answer those questions, okay? Because everybody starts asking those questions. What about my job? What about my job? So I did see a few of those there. So we may not get to those, but we'll try to answer as many as we can of the other questions.
Can you migrate if you have a juvenile record from Trinidad? Shervon, yes. The answer is yes, because when it comes to your criminal past, we need 5 years clear. Okay. And if you're juvenile, that's expunged at the age of 18. So that's something we look at a case-on-case basis. But if you've got 5 years clear, you're probably going to be okay. Again, the evaluation will determine this. Now, when I said if it's positive, you have a meeting. Even if it wasn't positive, you're still entitled to have a meeting with us if you want to be able to go through the different aspects of your actual file. I'm a practical nurse. I would really like to get a work permit in Canada, please. Demisha, like Donna mentioned, this is something that we do. We walk you through this step by step. Your first stage is the evaluation, because that's how you get a meeting to have these questions answered with us. Do you provide support to find a range of jobs for express entry? For you, Donna.
Okay, so we do support with finding jobs, whether that's for work permits or express entry. The one thing to remember, if you're looking for a job, you have express entry, a profile already in, is only going to give you 50 points. So that may not be enough to get you selected. And also the time is going to take you to get selected and your application to be processed. An employer may not be prepared to wait for that time. So you may have to be prepared to come into Canada on a work permit.
I have spent a great amount of hours searching for a job in Canada without success. Can you assist me with my job search? Is that including your team assessment? How does that work?
Well, yes, the evaluation worksheet, we need to see what you do, where your experience is, if there's a high demand in Canada, etc. But yeah, as we said at the beginning of this event, that we assist and we have a job search team, which is led by myself, and we've helped many people secure jobs. We don't provide jobs, it's an assistance with finding and securing a position that will support either a work permit or a permanent residency application.
We don't sell jobs. We don't promise jobs. That's illegal. That's dodgy. But we do link up our clients, because this goes right into the next one. Do you help link applicant with companies that can support FLMIA? Addie, yes is the answer. But as I said before, I will not put forward any client to any employer until the immigration file is perfected by us, not on your say so. Let's go back to an example here. Many years ago, when I had my company in England, we did Australia at the same time. And we had someone who had made 3 applications for Australia and failed all 3. And he kept copies of every application. First application was absolute rubbish. Second application was at least typed. And third application was near perfect. Now, Donna, I'll ask you this question. This occupation, he woke up at about 2 a.m, went to his place of work, turned the ovens on at 4 a.m. He kneaded the dough, rolled it, put it in pans, put it in the ovens, came out, did all his stuff on it. What's his occupation, Donna?
Baker.
Yeah. And we changed his title from baker to pastry chef. And he got to Australia. He's living in Perth, Western Australia, last I knew. So people, it can be something as simple as this. But we won't put you forward to an employer until we think you're job ready. And you've got to be perfected there. For jobs that require license in Canada, can you get a job offer remotely, Donna?
Yes, you can. If it's a compulsory trade or a profession that requires licensing, you may have to take steps to pursue that before you start applying for positions, because not only is the employer going to be looking for you to have that certification, but also it could be a requirement for getting your work permit.
I think I missed that. If I'm a graduate and have no experience, I'd have to get a couple years behind me. Does that mean I cannot get a junior entry job in Canada straight after graduating? And you can if you have enough points for express entry. So you can come into Canada, you can still immigrate to Canada and get an entry-level job when you come. You just couldn't get a work permit. Now, you may come from a country that offers different work permit schemes. This is something we can help determine with you. My question about public policy that's coming to an end in 2023. How can this assist my sister who's already in Canada on a visit? Dorothy, I don't understand There is so many public policies that are out there, so I don't know which one you are talking about. I'm sorry. Dave, is there a list of job offers that can be seen anywhere? Yeah, it's called the website. Type in jobs in Canada. It'll come up. We don't provide a list because we work on a reactionary basis. We're talking to our clients about jobs tomorrow, that jobs are available tomorrow. If you get a job list, those could have been taken 2 weeks ago. I've gotten a job offer. However, I was told I cannot take my twin along as they cannot contribute to Canada labor market force. Davia, I don't know what your twins got to do with your job offer because that would be 2 separate applications. Unless I'm missing something, or Donna, are you picking up something?
No, at first I thought it meant twin children, but then I think I reread it and I think they mean that twin sibling. Your sibling cannot be on your application.
I was informed the pools are closed for this year. When do they open in the new year? Amina, someone lied to you. The pools are not closed. They're every 2 weeks. Can you get a job? I guess you were just dying for your question to be answered at the time. As I told you yesterday, I'm a 55-year-old general surgeon. My 55-year-old wife, Spanish, English, French, 3 boys. Can we go? Can we apply? Wilson, yes. You've got a great application with what you just said there. By all means, do the evaluation. We're going to have a private meeting. You should be you should be successful. How can I get them to come with me? Because leaving them is not an option for me, and I really, really want this job.
I think that's back to the twin question.
If they're your children, Davia, they're allowed to come. Okay, so that's something we deal with evaluation to go with step by step. Sorry about that, but it's still, we can't answer a lot of questions if they're a little vague. Currently, I've lived in the UK for more than 3 years. BBA financing, master's international. I've also experienced 2 years in the sector. I want to Canada work permit skill worker. Am I eligible to apply? What things? Let me know. Thank you, Cameron. Same thing. It's the evaluation. So this is something where if you don't have, I mean, you've got 3 years of experience, but you've got in different occupations. It's possible to come in as a care worker. Okay, if that's what you've been working as, get into Canada, become permanent, and then go work in banking. John, our new client. What can I do if an ex-partner refuses to sign the acknowledgement letter regarding a child not being taken with me? John will talk to you about that, but that is, there is a final step you could do, and that is signing off your child that you can never, ever sponsor them in the future, and then you can still progress, but that's something we wouldn't want you to do. I've completed my law degrees, but at the moment working as a teaching assistant at School of London. I'm enjoying this profession, planning to pursue as teacher. So my question is, can I apply for teaching profession in Canada as my field education was different? Fatima, yes, is the answer. As a teaching assistant, as a teacher, you're going to have your teaching certificate. So not your PGC in Great Britain, but your equivalent one in Canada. But again, that's something we'll talk to you about on a private consultation. I am a real estate agent for 5 years, and for me to land a job in Ottawa, I will need a license. And how do I get it? Diana, this is one that you're going to have to be in Canada first. So that's one that you can do the Ontario real estate course. I think the first step is online. Whether they take out of province or out of Canada, I don't know. Donna, do you know?
I can't say for 100% because it's not something I've looked at for quite some time. So they may have made changes. I know that you couldn't before, but that may have changed.
I'm a practical nurse who takes care of more mature people. Fantastic.
Well, Canada definitely needs those, an aging population.
Tyrone, if you have no skill. Now, the biggest one I have is when I meet people and I say, what's your job? What do you work? And they tell me, I work in construction. Well, that's not an answer, okay? In construction can be electrician, a plasterer, a carpenter, bricklayer. I mean, it could be anything. If you're a laborer, then that's not considered to be a skilled occupation. That's going to be very challenging for you to come to Canada. Hopefully you find a Canadian and go through family category. But when you say you have no skill, we'll have some people turn around and tell us they're a plasterer and they've been for 15 years, but they never did an apprenticeship. They're still skilled. Can you clarify, how are you supposed to match your job experience to the exact knock, but if your number of years don't have to be in the field you're applying for? No. Akilo. You've got to find the exact knock to the occupation you've done, okay? Not the field you're applying for, okay? If you've been working 20 years as a secretary, but your degree was in law, don't be applying as a lawyer. You've never worked as a lawyer. You've never been paid as a lawyer. So the job experience has to be exactly to what you've been paid as, not what you're applying for. So for some people, like the person in banking, maybe they come into Canada because it's going to be easier to come in as a carer, do that for a number of years, become permanent. And once you're permanent, you're free to pursue anything that you want. Can we do the IELTS test while we're still in the UK? Richard, yes, the IELTS is all over the UK. It's every Saturday. I think it's £185 in places. Our clients in Jamaica and TT. TT is a little bit easier to do. Jamaica, you might not be able to get a spot for 3 or 4 months, but it's the general test that you have to do. Unless you're doing study, then you may have to do the academic. Happy, after filling the form, where do you submit? Or is there a link to the online form? I've already paid, but I don't know how to submit the downloaded file. Happy, on the bottom of every page is an address with an email address. So attach your downloaded file to that and email it to us at info@brazolotgroup.com, and we'll be taking it from there. So welcome aboard on that one. What's the average total cost for the program? Let's say Express Entry. Well, Kanisha, you can't just say, let's say Express Entry, because every program is going to have a different level that's going to happen step by step. So once we have the evaluation, because somebody else asked about, I just got my second Timmy's, everybody. Once we have your evaluation in and we have a private meeting with you, then what's going to happen is in the meeting, I'm going to, or Helen's going to go through the different programs you're going to be eligible for. Thank you. And the different costs that are associated with it. Are you single? Do you have children? Are the children coming? Do you have a criminal record? Do you need a work permit? Are you going through a provincial program? Are you going through a Quebec program? Are you going through family sponsorship? So there's different fees, but you would know everything by the end of the meeting. Before you start anything, okay, you would have 100% accuracy on what's going to happen. So to give you an average in Express Entry, it's $4,000, okay, but that doesn't tell you anything, but I've answered the question. Can Brazolot link me to sourcing companies for the job offer? We've answered that one. I'm a nurse in the UK. 39 brings my points down to 456. Does this mean I won't be considered for Express Entry? Michelle, at this point, you're not competitive enough. So there are other ways to get you to Canada. To the evaluation, we'll talk to you. Do you help finding ranges? So yeah, you didn't. Okay. How do I get the evaluation sheet if you have no money? The link is available online. It's the only way you can do the evaluation, Tyrone. Sorry. Donna, Pooja wants to know, do you help an LMIA? I'm interested in work permits, so what will be the total cost for an LMIA in the whole process? Well, Donna can answer the cost. I've just done that.
Well, yes, we do help with LMIAs. We're not helping you because they are applied for by the employer. Okay, so any employer wishing to hire a foreign worker through that program, yes, we can provide them with assistance. We can give you an overview, not now, but once to our clients, once you're a client of the process, but we will also offer assistance to the actual employer because it's not the foreign worker who applies for it.
If you want to migrate for job opportunities, how much finances should I have in order for it not to be an issue? Risha, thank you. Excellent question. If you're coming with a work permit to Canada, you don't need to prove any money. Zero. If you are coming Express Entry and you have enough points, then you need to have about 12,000 Canadian for the first person. I'm trying to get the exact number. You need to have, yes, approximately $13,000 for the first person and about $3,000 for every person after that. What do I mean by every person after that? Maybe you're going to come first, but you have a husband and 2 children. You'd still have to be able to prove the total assets for the whole family. If you're coming with a work permit, you don't have to prove any money. Are your fees including the figure quoted in the presentation? If not, what are your fees throughout? Latoya, we just talked about it. The evaluation worksheet is a discounted evaluation and meeting at $39. That's not our total fees. That's just to help people get something in at a reasonable price to find out what they can do. How much I can for all process. Does your grand aunt count as a close relative in Canada? Melanie, nope. If it's too far removed, that is now becoming a cousin. What is the policy relating to COVID 2020 pandemic? Dorothy, if that's what you talk about, the public policy, Pandemic restrictions are done in Canada. You don't need to have vaccinations to come here. And as for those on a postgraduate work permit, those that were entitled got an 18-month extension. Painters and decorators, Louise, there is a demand over here for every trade. Where can I find the application form after saving it? Maybe Mandy can type the answer on that. I don't know how that works.
Well, it should save to wherever they've set their laptop or computer to save downloaded files. It might be in their downloaded folder.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on how low you think the CRS points will drop within the next year. Akilo, I'm not going to tell you publicly, but I'm connected with 3,000 lawyers and consultants on our chat room. Some of these people are ex-visa officers from Canadian government. They still have some ties with the Canadian government, and we have our chat room of what's going on. The long story short is this. I will make every client as competitive as they possibly can be and show you what it's going to take in order to get a permanent visa. Good question, but don't think they're going to go much lower than what you see. But there's ways to become very, very competitive. Okay. Is that a great deal, not having a language certificate? However, I've graduated 2 universities, one based in my home country, another based in the UK, now based in my home country, back in the UK, almost 2 years, financial analyst, without applying. Okay. Nobody is coming to Canada without an English test or a French test unless you're married to a Canadian citizen or in a relationship with a Canadian citizen. People, I do not care if you have a PhD in English literature from Oxford University in Great Britain. No English test, no Canada. It's not my policy. It's a government policy. So that's what you're going to have to go through. They're valid for 2 years. The credential evaluation is valid for 5 years. You will have to have an up-to-date one at the time of application. Sorry. I have a bachelor's degree in guidance and counseling, working as a guidance counselor in elementary school. Previously worked as a social worker. What are my possibilities? So Esther, because you're connected, you can still be looking at work permits because you can still hit the prevailing wage rate because you're crossing the same social stratosphere. So that can be considered. Demisha, can I do the English test upon arriving in Canada? Well, if you're coming up on vacation, you can do the English test in Canada. That's not a problem. But you can't get a visa and then promise to do an English test later. What if your skill sets is general construction? You have to apply for a specific skill. Yeah, Warren, employers don't offer a work permit based on general construction. You have to focus on one of the trades. Oops, that just jumped on me. I am a licensed practical nurse. My daughter applied for me under a super visa program for about a year now, but I'm not getting any answer from immigration. Do you have any answer on that? Winsome, no. I don't know what country you're coming from because every country has different processing times. But if it's been a year, I can't see any reason why you're not going to be seeing some action soon. If you do not have a job offer and I do not know anybody in Canada, won't this affect my assessment? Go for it, Donna.
Well,
who'd you know came?
Nobody. You don't need to know anyone. If you've got that close family member, then it can help with the points. And obviously, if you have a job offer, then it can help with the points. But there are other ways through, for example, the work permit, where you do need the job offer, but you may not have that offer yet. So don't worry too much about that. But if you don't have a job offer and you don't know anyone, you may still qualify for a permanent visa. So you do need to do the evaluation worksheet for us to advise you on that one. Oh, it's popped up. The button's popped up again for you.
Okay, thank you. I thought there were other fees apart from this consultation. Latoya, there will be in the future if you want to proceed working with us. But that bar at the top, one last time for 30 seconds, is the total evaluation on all programs, and it includes your future meeting with us. After that, there's no obligation to go any further, okay? But that is going to give you a wonderful opportunity to find out how you qualify for Canada, going into very, very minute questions with us one-on-one. It's an hour, hour and a half, 2-hour consultations. It's up to you how long it's going to take. But that bar is going to be coming down in about 15 seconds. So thank you. There are fees in the future if you decide you're going to work with us. Cameron wants to know, any work restrictions, work permit hours I can do different employer? Well, if you have a work permit, it's for that one employer only. Okay.
There are some.
Sorry, Donna. The bar's coming down in 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1, and done. Go. Sorry, Donna.
So there are some permits, trades, for example, they do allow more than one employer, but they still have to be specified. The job offer still has to be certified from those two employers. So you can only work for the employers named on your work permit. And you asked if there's any restrictions. Now, once you're in Canada working, you are subjected to labour laws, okay? So like every Canadian and permanent resident. So you're subjected to your labour market impact assessment, whatever's noted on there, and you're subjected to labour laws, okay? So once you work in over a certain amount of hours, overtime kicks in and all those things as well. So, and that is different depending on which province you're working in.
Randy, I'm a correctional officer with 11 years of experience from Trinidad. Can this aid in my migration process? My spouse, 7 years banking. What's an advisable route to take? Well, the advisable route to take is going to be this evaluation. However, the reason the glasses came on, here's the new secret policy that's coming out in 10 days. I think, if I can do this fast, I think your job is being, don't quote me, but I think your job is being upgraded from being unskilled to skilled. So being a correctional officer could be quite good. And I told you at the beginning, my family, how large it is. Well, my brother-in-law was the director of all of Ontario corrections. Now, yeah, I can't work on a job there, but no, we have a lot of experience in that. So I think you've got some good news coming. I think you're going to be in a position where you're going to be eligible to apply. I'm a trained teacher with over 6 years experience and still in the field, currently completing a master's. How do I start the process for express entry? Donna doesn't have one of these, but I do. Evaluation. Okay. If you're in hospitality and your field would be, what field would you be able to apply for? Or what would you qualify for permanent status? Chantel. Again, it's a loose question. So if you're in the hospitality industry, we're going to apply for you in the hospitality industry, whatever focus you are. But if you're in the hospitality industry as a waitress, you can't get a job offer in Canada. But if you are a food counter attendant, that's possible. Much appreciated, LaToya. It's always nice to see that. Donna, what if Ashley was a truck driver?
To be a truck driver. Does that mean a truck driver?
I think so.
I think so, yes. Okay, let's assume that you're talking about a truck driver. Well, we've assisted hundreds of truck drivers with coming to Canada. At the moment, and in the past, you've needed a job offer to come across to Canada on a work permit, first of all. But in Atlantic Canada, there are some programs where you can apply for permanent residency without actually working in Canada, but they do all require having a job offer. So we do have a program. We've been working with many employers across the country who have had to rely on foreign workers because there's just not enough drivers here in Canada. So if you're a truck driver, definitely fill out the evaluation and we can give you more information on that.
Dee Dee has a great question. Is there any point, the genuine, contacting international recruiting agencies for a job in Canada?
Is there any point contacting international? Well, it depends what you mean by recruiting agencies, because recruiting agencies in Canada work slightly differently. I always tell everybody, because I do get quite a lot of questions regarding this, to proceed with caution. Okay, if you're using any agency that can promise you any job in Canada, it's something where people will jump on fraudulent activities, etc. So do be careful with that. But basically, if you have a genuine company that can help you with recruitment, like we help with recruitment, assist with finding employers, etc., and working with those employers so they can hire you, then there is definitely a valid point there.
Deborah, can I get a work permit as an auditing assistant for the past 5 years? Well, Deborah, we'll find a lot of people when we do the evaluation, they've called themselves an auditing assistant, but they were actually an auditor. Okay, just because you weren't the head of the whole department. So if you were just actually the assistant, then the answer is yes, because it's still a skilled occupation. So there's no problem there. How long does it take to move up? That's the other thing, is when we talk to you and when we have your evaluation and we do the meeting with you, that's when we're going to help determine what your occupation is. Because maybe you've been thinking you're one title from what you're called. My best one is my clients coming from TT. A lot of them tell me they might be a clerk 1, clerk 2, clerk 3. We don't have these titles in Canada. So we've got to go to the duties that they've done. And it ends up being a lot higher in Canada than what they're titled in Trinidad and Tobago. How long does it take to move to Canada as an international person living in the UK? Do I need to go back country? Is it okay to come from UK to Canada? Cameron, yeah. A lot of our clients are moving from their country to Canada. How long does it take? Well, as long as your application is perfected and you get an invitation to apply, you could be in Canada in less than 11 months. 11 months from today, you could be in Canada with a full permanent visa if you have all the qualifications. Dorothy's going to be in Nova Scotia next month. Would be good to meet you, Dorothy. Everywhere in Canada is a pretty big place, and Donna's in the back and beyond. You probably know when you're. So, Tamar, is cashier considered a skilled occupation? Let's go back to what I just said about TT. I will get some of my TT clients tell me they're a cashier. Now, on the surface, the title cashier is not a skilled occupation, but in Trinidad and Tobago, this is a skilled occupation because they're actually working as accounting technicians or technologists. They're doing those duties, but they use the term cashier. What will be the position of clerk 1? Rachel, we'll go through that with your application. Donna, I think we got to the end of our questions. Now, I just had a pop up on my phone. My mom, everybody is in heaven for the last couple of years. My father is still only 6 hours away. I'll be driving there later today or tomorrow morning. And today is my mom and dad's 68th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
I lost my mom a couple of years ago, so we did have their 65th wedding anniversary. But yes, so 68 years today they've been married.
Wow, that's a long time. What's the 70th? Do you know what that is?
No, but I could probably Google it.
Yeah, I don't think we ever really hear much about it after 60 years.
No, you don't. Everybody, it sounds like we're pushing. This is what's invaluable to you, okay? There are a lot. We've started these webinars, started during COVID, but they've gone on because they've been very, very popular. It's a very inexpensive way to find out all these questions. You have an interest in my country. Let's determine what we think is your best route. Some people don't want to hear what their best route is. Some people have a focus. I get a lot of my Jamaican clients talk to me, and they were starting to do study programs, not realizing what the costs are involved. You look at $22,000 a year for tuition some places. So there's better routes for you to go down. But by all means, let's do the evaluation. If you've done an evaluation and paid for this in the previous 18 months, you don't need to redo this. Just send an email to us with your reference number. If it's been more than 18 months, you have to do the new evaluation. You have to pay for it again. I'm sorry. And we'll go through that with you step by step. Response time is quick. You'll have answers within the first couple of days. And from that point, it'll give you the dates and times of meetings. Because of time change, we're quite good. No, we don't meet on Saturdays and Sundays. We don't meet at 7 o'clock at night, my time. But if you're coming, it's of interest to you. Take some time off. Have your questions ready. Let's go through it. Let's have a very valuable meeting so you have perfect understanding of what's going to be happening. We're at our end now. We hope you have enjoyed the webinar today. If you have, for those that are active on Facebook and Google, please go there, give us a rating on Google, rating on Facebook. We do appreciate it. It does help us, gives us a little bit of pat on the back, but it helps other people out there. A lady yesterday just shocked me, and I said, "Is this a scam? How the hell is this a scam?" Go to our licensing body. Okay, you can see it's right up front. There's nothing to hide with us, plain and simple. Is every client perfect? No. Okay, is every application perfect? No. But we do enjoy a 96% success record. This is what's important. So by all means, if you liked what you saw, give us a rating. Email us if you want a copy of the business book. Email us if you want a copy of the slides. You can put it in the chat room. We won't pick it up from there. This will be handed out tomorrow. Donna, any further thoughts?
I love the fact that everyone asks if it's a scam. I certainly won't get up at 6:30 in the morning for a scam. And I know it does sound, just reiterating what Dennis was saying, that we're pushing the evaluation, but without that assessment, we can't tell you how you qualify or provide you with any assistance. And I always say to people when we do events, face-to-face, etc., it's a little amount of money in today's reality to find out how you qualify and whether you do have a chance, because you may have a dream that's never going to happen, and that's sorry to say, but it's always good to put that to bed if it's not going to happen to you. But if it is, and for many it is an opportunity, then find out how you can pursue it, because taking that first step is what you do need to do. Okay, because nobody's going to come and hand you a visa. That just doesn't happen. Okay, so taking those first steps, finding out if you do qualify and how you qualify, that's really, really important.
We're going to be brutally honest. If it's not a pass, we're going to tell you it's not a pass. You can still have a meeting to go through it if you don't understand what's going on. But for most people, there's always going to be a way, and that's where we're going to encourage the meeting. I met with some people the other day, Donna. They had done the show live in Birmingham 7 years ago. Paid for an assessment, never went any further. Great couple. He's a truck driver. They're living in England. He's Polish. She's not. And they had a new meeting with me. It's not that it took them 7 years to come to a decision, but they just had stuff happen. He got lucky because he was a truck driver. Even though it's improved, the program's still available. But for a lot of you, understand, if you're eligible for a permanent visa today, you'll get it in about a year. And then you have just under 4 years to use it or lose it. But you might have to make that application today, because today you're 5 years younger than if you think you're going to do it in 5 years. So we'll give you the tactical plans to go through. Okay, plain and simple. We get a lot of people. I'll email you more information on how we can work on my job search and guide me through the process. Well, we will do that once we have an evaluation. We have a meeting with you. We just don't answer the general questions like that because of our licensing. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity today. We have two choices. If you were with us at the beginning and we did the opening of the Vancouver Olympics with the song I Believe, we've got two videos that we can show at the end of today's webinar. I will either do I Believe, the bilingual version with the artists, and they say it's brilliant. I want that one again. Or I can give you the 10 best places to live in Canada. It's a 10-minute video. The other one is a 4-minute video. Well, we're going to go open the majority. Put in the chat room. What would you like to see? Bilingual version of I Believe or 10 best places to live in Canada? Majority will win, and that's the video I'm going to post to end this webinar off today. 10 best places, 10 best places.
10 best. That's all I'm seeing, 10 best. One person says bilingual. Somebody said, oh, I don't think you got that much time.
We don't have that much time. So everybody, I'm going to put on
10 best.
The video of the 10 best. This is what we started the pre-show yesterday with. But a lot of people weren't aware that we were showing any pre-show videos. Let me get this queued up there. Everybody, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Get the evaluation done. Amanda will put the link in one last time because it's not going to pop up. Get this done. It's invaluable. You're going to do it today. You're going to do it tomorrow. Today you do it, it's going to cost you $39. You do it tomorrow, it's going to cost you $117. It's simple mathematics. Does this make us money? No, it just offsets some of the costs that we're doing to go through the assessment team. Good luck. God bless. Hopefully you've learned something. Donna, thank you for getting up so early in Nova Scotia to join us.
Thanks, everybody, and see you soon, maybe at another event or when you're a BMG client. Take care.
Canada often ranks at the top of lifestyle lists. It offers employment opportunities. It has decent standards of healthcare and education. If you are planning to immigrate to